Here we go. Cool. I think we're live, Marie.
Are we there?
I think so. It doesn't tell me anything
All
yet.
right.
Yet we
Hi,
are live.
everybody. All right. We're going to assume that we're live. Hi, everybody. I am Marie Green from Olive Knits, and this is Libby Johnson from Truly Myrtle, and we are coming to you. We're coming with our very first episode of the Pacifico Knits video podcast, and we are doing this live, and it's really just an extension of the conversations that Libby and I have together every day about our evolving style and being a woman in our 40s and what style looks like as we age and evolve.
Yep, it is. Because we chat a lot, don't we?
It is, and we do, and we have a little bit of a delay. So if it seems like we're a little bit off on our conversation, it's only because we have to give this couple second delay to hear what the other one is saying. But we have this coming to you live, not only on our Facebook page, but also our brand new YouTube channel. And Libby can tell you how to make sure you see it if you are a YouTube user.
So hopefully some of you will be seeing us on the Facebook page, and some of you might have discovered us on the YouTube channel. If you are on YouTube, if you want to see us chat regularly, because we're going to come back every couple of weeks, aren't we, Marie? And we're going to have a little chat. So if you want to make sure you don't miss us, or you catch up later after we've been live, then just click that subscribe button, I think it is, and there's also a little bell. And if you click the bell, then you'll be notified when we go live as well. So it's quite, if you want to catch up with us there, it's a really good opportunity to do that. And Facebook, you can click buttons, little 3 buttons, and you can make sure that you're notified when we go live there as well. So there's lots of ways to make sure that you can jump on as soon as you see us. Yes.
And of course, the nice thing is you can come back and watch the recording later. So you don't have to catch it live, but if you do, great.
Exactly. Cool. Oh, it's quite fun, isn't it?
So we're excited to dive in. Libby and I, when we were talking about doing this, we've actually been kind of toying with the idea for a little while, and we sat down. I was in New Zealand a couple of weeks ago for my birthday visiting Libby. We're actually both in the Southern Hemisphere right now. Libby's in New Zealand and I am in Australia. And we were talking about the conversations that we have that just feel so universal to the experience of being a woman and aging, and that, there are conversations we have with the knitters in our communities quite a bit. I think you found that as well, Libby, right?
Oh,
the things we're talking about seem so relevant.
Yeah, they definitely do. I feel like a few of the women that are in my communities have sort of been here. I think they've done this, and they're really great at coming back and reminding me that this too shall pass, or that actually it kind of keeps going, but it changes as you get older. But then there's a whole lot of us that are dealing with exactly the same things at the same time, and it's so reassuring just to know that you're not alone, but also it just is really nice to be able to share some of these things with other people. I like it.
It really is. And I found, even when you and I first became friends and we actually discovered how much we had in common and we started having these conversations almost every day, I felt just so understood, and it was so nice to have someone who was just a half step ahead of me, who could say, oh, I went through that. I just went through that, and this is how I got through it, or this is what I was feeling and thinking. And so it is really reassuring to find out that you're not alone. So
I think so. And I think a lot of the stuff that we've found ourselves talking about, which we'll talk about something in a minute, but I think a lot of the stuff we've kind of ventured into are things that I don't see other people talking about loudly anywhere else. And so it's little things that sometimes you feel like you're the only person, and then you realize, oh no, I'm not actually the only person. That, thank goodness, there's someone else as well who's feeling this as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's quite a universal thing. And so we were talking about ideas for how we wanted to start and what we want to talk about, and we ended up with such a long list of things that we could talk about. So we were like, yes, let's definitely do this. We have a lot to say. And so we thought we would talk to you all a little bit about how our style has evolved throughout our lives, and how that evolution affects the way that we design. We're both knitwear designers, and we have separate businesses where we design our own independent things, and then we design for a collection, the Pacifico collection that we do together. And just just what that evolution looks like and how it is kind of showing up in the work that we do.
Yeah. Because it really came, I think we hadn't really realized how we needed to talk about it until we started designing our first collection. And I think as we were talking more about what we were going to put in it and what we wanted to say with it and the yarns we were choosing, it suddenly became apparent that there was something bigger here that we wanted to talk about to each other, because I think we realized quite early on that although we have a similar we do have a fairly similar style in some ways, we actually have quite a different style in other ways, and that was quite interesting to us, wasn't it, once we got going, to work out whether or not it was whether we had a style we could sort of hang on, and what was that anyway. Do you think that's sort of how we got there with that conversation?
Yeah, I think so. I was just thinking about kind of how my style evolved and what I thought my style was as I was young, and how that kind of changed as I had children and as I became a designer. And I think when we started working together, all of a sudden we had to have the conversation of, do we try and blend our styles into one thing? Can we both kind of come at this from our own angle, and will that work? Will that feel cohesive, or will it feel disjointed? And it was really cool to find out that we could stay true to our individual style and then still create something that felt like it belonged together. And like you said, we have a lot in common, and then we also have some differences in the way that our style manifests.
So tell me a little bit about your style, because we were talking about how we sort of started, weren't we? Where has this all started for us? I mean, did you have something that you knew was just definitely you right from when you were young, or is this, and do you feel like you have a style now, that the sense of style has evolved, or how did that sort of all start for you?
What I've come to discover is that the way that I started to find my style was seeing what I didn't like, what didn't feel comfortable. Because, when I was young, you start by your parent buys you clothing, so you're just wearing what you're given. And then as you start to get older, it's a lot of experimenting. And I certainly went through a lot of phases where I was like, I'm going to try the hippie kind of granola crunchy mama phase. I'm going to try the preppy phase. Like, I went through all these different phases until I got to the point where, and actually what's funny is I kept thinking, oh, now I've arrived. Now I know what my style is. And then it would change again, and it would change again. And I think the problem for me was thinking I had to find one box I could fit in, and then my style had to be that all the time. And I could not find a box that perfectly worked for me. And it's only really been in my 40s that I've started to find that I think my style is classic, minimalist, elegant, but casual. Like, I don't know. It's
you do a really good chic
that I can draw from a lot of different things.
Yeah, but you you do. You just have this. Marie's fairly tall, and you have this amazing way of just looking so put together and classy. I think I actually hate the word classy, but you know what I mean. It's that quite a chic look that you do really, really well.
Yeah.
And so simple lines, I feel like with you, and I think everything about you sort of reflects
clean.
That. Yeah.
Simple lines.
Yeah, I think so. No, because I'm funny.
Thank you. Well, it's funny because it took a while. Tell me about you, though.
Well, I was thinking about being dressed when you were younger. I used to wake up every morning and there would be a pile of clothes on the floor in front of the heater, and I would just put them on, and I never even thought about clothes. I definitely had some clothes that I liked, but unlike some of my siblings, like my sister would refuse to wear the clothes that that were laid out for her. She would, and it never occurred to me to refuse to wear the clothes. It wasn't a thing for me. I don't remember being a little girl and being particularly concerned with clothes. I just like to do things, and so I guess my need for things to be fairly practical hit quite early, but I didn't really put a lot of thought into it, other than Mum occasionally would make me a beautiful flouncy skirt, and I loved that with ribbons on it. And I remember that I've got a birthday party dress she made for me out of like a muslin that had sort of coffee coloured with bows and beads, and that was the 70s. I loved that. But it wasn't until when I hit my teens, and I came about this because my mum did a lot of sewing, and so I just assumed that you just sewed clothes. But when I hit my teens, I learned to sew and knit, and I definitely had a vision of things I wanted to wear, but they didn't come from they were totally unfashionable, I think, a lot of the time. They were just things that I thought were really cool in my own little bubble. And so I look back at some of the stuff that I would put on and just think, whoa, what was I thinking? I remember there was a phase, like a little phase that ripped through our school, where you would take your dad's old shirt. Well, I definitely did anyway. Took my dad's old shirts and cut and unpicked them and took the collars off and then stitched them back up, and I'd wear these old shirts with no collars. That was a thing. I remember I was quite young. I was probably about 12.
Nice.
But and so I definitely went through my teens experimenting, and it was the 80s. So I do remember things like making woolen leggings that were so uncomfortably itchy and wearing those with a woolen dress over the top so I was too hot. Or I bought myself sort of lime green. I knew that I liked things that had a bit of character to them, but I had no concept of putting things together or a look. I had absolutely no concept about that at all, I don't think, when I was younger.
I didn't either. No. I think you're not born with that.
I definitely wasn't.
I wasn't.
Yeah. And I definitely wasn't. I think
I sewed for myself young too. And it's like, I look back at the things I made. I had this drop waist jumper, not sweater, like, I know you would say like jumper is a sweater, but like a pinafore kind of, I don't know, like a little dress.
Yeah.
It was a little dress, and it was sage green with little brown teddy bears all over it and buttons up. I did a great job sewing it, but it's so hideous and so not me. I can't. But what's funny is I feel like I actually, when I look back at the couple things I loved wearing when I was young, they were a solid color, very clean lines with like pinstripes or something, like a little pinstripe top and capris. I remember that from Ocean Pacific. That was like a cool thing. Versus my mom got me this frilly, lacy, feminine pink with like jagged lace edges and frilly. I mean, I looked like a frosted cupcake for my 8th grade graduation, and I was miserable. And I didn't know why I was miserable. But can you imagine me in that?
No.
Like, it was so uncomfortable, and it makes me realize how important it is to know what you feel good in, because it's a totally different experience going through life.
I think that is part of the key, isn't it? I think over the years, I definitely, I think I spent my whole of my 30s, the entirety of my 30s, either pregnant or breastfeeding or both. And through those years, I was really conscious that clothes needed to be comfortable. I didn't pay a lot of attention to any particular look, although I moved to the UK in that time, and there was a whole thing about wearing dresses over jeans, Birkenstock shoes I was introduced to, wrap dresses, and I discovered cotton knit wrap dresses. I was definitely going for comfort. I think through those years I needed a lot of easy access, because I breastfed for a long time, and I needed easy access those whole years to kind of be able to feed. And I think I was thinking about it the other day, and I think that's when I discovered layers, because I hated getting a cold tummy when I was trying to feed my baby. So layers worked quite well for me, but I still didn't have any sense of I'm trying to find a style that feels like me. I definitely didn't have that. I didn't have any concept that I was shooting for that even. I was really dressing for practical comfort. I mean, I tried to choose colours I liked and things I liked, but I didn't have a sense of what I'm wearing is a reflection of who I am. I don't think I had any idea about that until my 40s, really. I think did you have it?
Did you feel uncomfortable ever in any of your clothes? Did you ever wear something and think, this doesn't feel like me? Or was it just like, it's just something to wear?
Yeah, I think I did. I think I definitely did, because I also would just wear stuff because it worked, or because it was cheap, say. So if I needed something, I might grab a t-shirt from the supermarket because it was just easy, but I didn't necessarily like it or want to wear it, but I just would. And so I think but it didn't I think I was so distracted by other things that were happening in my life, it wasn't a priority for me.
Right.
So I guess, but I don't remember having a great relationship with feeling like, I just didn't dress to have any sort of style. I don't think I just didn't. It just wasn't. I guess it wasn't really important at that time. Yeah. But maybe it could have been better.
I feel like that was very much for me too. yeah, I didn't know I was having babies and breastfeeding in my 20s.
Yeah.
And we were on a tight budget, and they didn't have maternity clothes back then.
No.
I mean, now there's all sorts of cute things. There wasn't anything then. So I just wore what was comfortable, and I never felt put together.
No.
But also never knew really what to do to feel put together. And I would see occasionally someone walk by and think, they look so put together. How do they, what makes that look happen? And I could not put my finger on it. And I would go shopping. I think that's what's hard, is when you finally decide, okay, I'm going to buy something to spice up my wardrobe a little bit, and then you get something that's just completely wrong. Yeah. I kept over and over buying these like small floral prints in pastel kind of colors. And I mean, if you know me, which you do, you know that that's not the right look for me. And I would buy something that was so pretty on the hanger. It'd be great on you probably, but I would wear it and I'd be like, oh, I feel horrible. And I would I just would end up not, kind of not trying, because I couldn't figure out how to get good results that I was happy with.
Yeah. And I think I also got confused about thinking that I needed to change me in order to look like that person. And so I remember there was a woman at the primary school that my kids went to in the UK called Amy, I think her name was, and she was really tall, dark, quite striking looking, much more voluptuous than I was, and she always looked amazing. I could see she looked amazing, and I wanted a piece of that, but I was about a foot shorter, and I was always big, small, getting pregnant, not getting pregnant. I just couldn't make myself be Amy, and I think I didn't realize that I actually it was already inside me who I didn't have to change me, if you know what I mean. I didn't have to change this physical me. But there was already something that I could wear that would make me, I didn't have to look like Amy to look cool, you know what I mean? I just could still feel great and look like me without, I don't know if that made any sense at all. But
it does. It does, because I think we all struggle with that feeling of like, what does looking good look like? And does it look like what looks good on this person or this style? And of course we see things out there and think, well, maybe if I get that, it'll look good on me, or it'll work for my style. And we run into that with knitting as well, because when we're choosing knitting patterns, we are not only, my philosophy is, you're not only choosing a project that's a hobby, but you're also choosing a piece of clothing that you're going to wear. And then, is this going to work with your, with the things that you like to wear? I have been known to knit things, especially back in the day, that were really fun projects to make, and even sewing. Because I used to sew a lot of my own clothes as well. And I would finish it and realize, wait a minute, that was fun to make, but actually that's not something I'm going to wear. And so I've had to really think more about that as I make things today.
I've had to think more about that, I think, as I've designed things today, because I'm finding it takes it to another level for me, because all of a sudden I'm putting it out and thinking, I've kind of got to stand behind this and say that I like it, or I'm going to wear it. I haven't always made things that I have really liked, actually, as designs, and that's been a huge learning curve for me.
Me too, especially because I think we both started our businesses right around the same time. And in the beginning, I was just trying to keep churning out things because the demand was there, and my test knitters were like, we're ready to knit another thing. And so I kept creating new things, and I would have a yarn, and I might think, this yarn's not very inspiring, but I said I would use it, so I would put something together, and people, the right people would like it, but I would think, that's not actually something I want to wear, which took me a while to start. Actually, I was so far ahead scheduled in my designs that if I got to something that I wasn't feeling inspired about, I didn't have the freedom to change my mind, because I was already committed to a deadline. So what I've done in the last year is really step away from that, so that I could design, allow like the inspiration to happen and be more creative, and make sure that I'm really, really in love before I put something out there, something that I love and I really want to wear.
And I think it's a matter then, I felt as well, of melding what I suddenly realized was my style with what I'm actually creating in the designs. It took me a while to put those two things together, so that when I said before about discovering my style and about my 40s, I can remember watching a TV program called Offspring. It's an Australian TV program, and the woman, the main character in the program, is this rather hapless gynecologist, and she wears layers of clothing. I'd never seen.
I've lost the audio.
Oh, you've lost the audio.
There we go.
Oh, good.
I got you back.
Hang on a sec. My computer is going to go flat. It's gone down so fast. I'm just going to get someone to bring me a cord. You can just chat for a minute while I go and get a cord. Terrible organization.
Okay. Oh, it's all good. This is just real life. So, well, as Libby was talking about, just thinking about the style.